everybody, it's Carrie at the Racine Heritage Museum, and today I'm upstairs in our Waterways exhibit, and I wanted to talk to you about one of Racine's major immigrant groups, the Danes, people coming from Denmark. So I have a Danish flag here and a few items, and normally when we think about people from Denmark or Danes, we think of bakeries because of course that's a big part of Racine culture. But today I want to explain to you that it was quite a bit more than just bakeries that they influenced. So the first Dane who came to Racine was John Bang. He came in 1839 before Racine was even recognized as a town. And he was a carpenter from Denmark. He built the first bridge in Racine, which if you've ever driven around Racine, you know bridges are very important here. Unfortunately, that bridge was washed out by a storm. It had to be rebuilt, but he still holds that title as building the first bridge. It was called Bang's Bridge, named after him. So the biggest wave of Danish immigrants came between 1870 and the beginning of the 20th century. And the reason why so many of them came then was because of the German-Danish War of 1864. And in that war, the Germans were able to occupy large portions of Denmark, and a lot of the Danish people were very resentful of German rule. They lost quite a bit in that war, and so they came here to escape poverty and the effects of the war. And it is thought that between 1870 and the early 1900s, 50,000 Danes fled Denmark and went to various places. And of course, many of them came here. Most of them were farmers and woodworkers. So we hear Danish immigrants, we just think of bakers, but that wasn't the largest group of them. A lot of them were woodworkers who were actively recruited by the Mitchell and Lewis Wagon Company, the Fish Wagon Company, and also the Case Implement Company. They would actually recruit people from Denmark because they were so known for their skill in woodworking. And so a lot of the people that came from Denmark didn't speak any English, but it is said that they could show up only having to know 3 words, Mitchell Wagen Works, which is Mitchell Wagon Works. And so they were able to come and get a job there and begin their lives. So the majority of immigrants that came between 1870 and 1900 were known as a second wave. And so they were coming in here to a town that was already established, to an area that there wasn't a lot of land available to be purchased. So a lot of them were taking jobs in factories or sort of supplemental roles, so shopkeepers, working in stores, things like that. And so not a lot of them bought farms, but that doesn't mean there weren't some that bought farms. But like I said, a lot of them worked at the Mitchell Wagon Works, and in 1882, there were 1,000 people employed at Mitchell, and 800 of them were of Danish descent, so quite a lot of them. So I actually could have done this video downstairs in front of the wagon because there's a good possibility that that wagon was built by Danish immigrants. And so a lot of them came and anglicized their names. So for example, the name Nielsen in Denmark would have been changed to Nelson, S-O-N, here in the United States, or Peterson in Denmark with a D would have been changed to Peterson with a T and an O here in the States. I talked to you about Bohemians a while back, and I stressed how Bohemians were very proud of their culture and really tried to hang on to that culture, the language and their customs, and marrying into other Bohemian families. The Danes were a little bit different. They did celebrate and embrace their culture, but they seemed a little more eager to become Americanized, to learn English, to sort of drop some of those Danish customs. They did still celebrate being Danish, but maybe not quite as much as the Bohemians celebrated their culture. And so by 1905, the city of Racine had a larger per capita concentration of Danes than any other city outside of Denmark. So what that means is, yes, Chicago would have had more Danish people, but the per capita concentration of Danes in Racine was higher. And so we were known to be a very Danish city at that time. By 1920, Danes were the largest immigrant group in Racine. And so that was about the time that the Danish bakeries really started to spring up. So Danes had been here for quite a while before those bakeries showed up. They'd been working in the case factory, they'd been working in Mitchell, and then they started to have their bakeries in West Racine. West Racine became known as Kringleville. A lot of Danes lived in that area, and a lot of people don't realize that Kringles are actually Austrian, but the Danes kind of adopted it and made it a little bit more their own. And so, like I said, they did embrace their culture of being Danish. They had the Dania Society, the Danish Brotherhood, the Danish Ladies 10-cent Society, which, like it sounds, the dues were 10 cents to join. But the goal of these societies, yes, it was to preserve their culture, but I'm going to read to you the stated goal of the Danish Brotherhood. It says to preserve their culture, to lend a helping hand to newcomers, assisting to learn the language and ways of the nation, and become assimilated. So it's right there in their mission statement that it was to help them become Americanized. And I've even talked to people who had parents who were first generation Danish immigrants who said that their parents, when they were little, would get made fun of by the other kids for their Danish accent or not being able to speak English well. So it definitely was sort of a fine line. But most Danes gave up speaking Danish by either the second or the third generation, if not the first. And so we see a little bit of a difference between that and the Bohemians who were continuing that language and that culture for a long period of time. So I just wanted to share a little bit with you today about Danish immigrants, part of our Racine history. Of course, there's so much more that we could share, but we're all out of time for today. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned. We're going to have some announcements about opening up very, very soon. So we look forward to seeing you in person in the museum. Stay safe and have a great day. Bye.